When you enter the instrument room, you will be putting your samples into the GC Trace 1300. This consists of the actual GC containing the column, and then this tower on top, which is called an auto sampler. This enables you to be able to do more than one sample at a time. It changes the samples for you. So you can put up to 8 samples into the auto sampler, and it will run them consecutively. So it will run sample 1, then it will switch to sample 2, and so on up to 8 samples, which really saves a lot of time. The GC is controlled by this laptop here, and we'll go through and show you the commands to start a run. You'll need to bring a few things into the room with you. One is a clean pipette and a bulb. The second is your unknown sample containing the 3 unknowns. And the third is a sample vial, which has markings on the side so you can tell what volume you're putting in. So what you're going to do is put in some of your unknown into the sample vial. And you want to fill it about half full or so. Then you'll put the lid gently on. You don't want to tighten it down too tight, otherwise it can damage the instrument. Now that your sample vial is full, we need to put it into the auto sampler. We're going to put it into slot number 2 behind the vial that is already loaded containing the 8 standards. So the machine will run the 8 standards first and then automatically switch to yours and inject your unknowns without you having to do anything other than tell the computer to make it do that. As described in the video, a carrier gas is needed to do a GC experiment. You can see the gas tanks hooked up in the room. And in this case, we're using compressed helium. You can see these copper tubing that lead over to the backs of the instruments. If you open up one of the GCs, you'll enter the area that's heated, that's the oven. You can see the column coiled right there. It's the copper looking thing. And that's what the sample runs through. Once your samples are loaded, you're going to want to head to the computer and open the Chromeleon 7 program. It's an icon on the desktop. On the left side, you will see the sequence list, which is simply a file tree where all the data is stored. You'll want to open the folder that corresponds to your lab section. You will see a list of injections that have been run. Click to add a new injection. Change the name by clicking in the name area and putting in your initials and your unknown number. You'll want to make sure that the position number corresponds to the position of the sample in the auto sampler. If it doesn't, then click in the area that says position and change that number in the software. Once everybody in the group has added their samples to the list, you want to make sure that you hit save before you go any further. Once you've added all the samples and saved the file, then you'll want to head to the top and hit the button that will either say start if you're beginning a new list, or if you're continuing along, it will simply say resume. You'll want to hit it either way.
So currently the syringe is cleaning itself. This vial here is just acetone, and you can see it's drawing the acetone to clean the syringe and then disposing of it into the waste. At this point, the syringe is conditioning itself with the first sample, or 9 standards. So it's drawing up a little bit of the first 9 standards, and then it is going and injecting into the instrument for the first run. So we can monitor the progress of this injection sequence by double-clicking on the icon here. This will open the run in real time.
As the sample runs, you'll see the GC on the window. In order to refresh the window so you can see the progress, you'll just hit F5 every once in a while. It'll be pretty noisy at first until an actual peak comes out, so don't let that worry you. Now we can see that a peak is starting to appear. Notice the noise has flattened out, and eventually we'll see our first peaks come out. And there they are. Now remember, there are, in this first injection, 8 standards that have to come out, in addition to an acetone peak that is the solvent. So this could take about 15 minutes. So we'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's all done. The run is now finished, and you can see all the peaks on the screen. There are 8 standards, but if you count, you will notice that there are 9 peaks. Don't forget that acetone is in every sample, including the 9 standards. And it is the first peak to come out here. So when you're analyzing it, make sure to disregard that peak. It will be in every sample. Once the run for the 8 standards is complete, the tower with the needle will swing over to the next sample in line, in this case position 2, which is your unknown consisting of 3 of the standards plus the acetone peak. The machine will continue along and inject the next one and the next one and the next one if there's anything in those slots. Once you're done with the 9 standards, you'll want to close this screen out by hitting the X. Then you're back to the injection list, and you can double click on the next spectrum that's coming out, and that should pop up an unknown. Notice the acetone peak, and then the 3 peaks that are your unknown 3 compounds.